You wanna? Hi everybody, this is Aaron from the Sibling Rivalry, and today we're going to be doing a quick sewing tutorial for you with our new Singer machine. We're going to be making the filters for these 3D printed PPE masks. These are the Montana Mask Utah remix that we showed in a previous video, and this is the Singer 4452 Heavy Duty that we just did an unboxing for. So, let's get started. Like I said before the intro, we're going to be making these filter pads, and yeah, I know we've covered them a little bit in the 3D printing video, but the way that they work is, Val did a whole bunch of research. If you missed out on that in the previous video, we'll have a link down below, and we might even have the video linked up here. Effectively, we're making a sandwich of fabric. And these need to be 100% cotton so that they're machine washable, and to comply with like the research and studies that the FDA, the CDC, and a few other places, I think the WHO, like not the band, the governing body, have published. Sorry, I got a little off track there with the WHO reference. Yeah, so you could use like a 100% cotton fabric like a t-shirt on the outside, but what we're using here is actually a flannel that is 100% cotton, and I've cut these to size. We actually took the retaining clip from the mask out and used that to kind of create a template, and then what we did is we made these circles about 1/2 inch to 1 inch wider so that we'd have enough that we could trim down, like you can see here, kind of the frayed edges from trimming it down so that it fits properly in the mask, and you don't have to worry about, you know, the logistics of making something that's too small and then having to figure out how to seal it in there, which is something we were kind of looking at with the first set of filters that we made. But what we've got here is flannel. I keep going to say polar fleece, but it's flannel. And then we've got a terry cloth type material. This is actually just from a towel. And the great thing about all these is they're machine washable. You can also just sanitize them in alcohol or any other health grade sanitization product. Obviously you don't want to autoclave these because they just light on fire. But yeah, and we're just going to sew them into a disc. We do this cross section first to hold everything together, and then we do the nice edge to hold everything and stop it from fraying out. And I'm just going to walk you through how I did this. So we're going to be making about like 14 more of these, I think. Maybe 13 after this one. Okay, so I've just layered these. So I've got flannel on each side and the terry cloth in the middle. You can mark these circles out with a pen or a pencil, or they've also got certain types of chalks that you can use that don't leave stains on the fabric. If you're doing this with a dark fabric, you might be able to just use white chalk, and because there's no pigments in white chalk, it's literally just chalk. But so I'm just putting these pins through like this, and then lining them this way so that they hold the whole thing nice and tight and relatively aligned. Doesn't need to be perfect. And we've already got the sewing machine here all threaded and everything. Hopefully we don't have any weird issues, and don't need to re-thread it because that'll be a bit of a nightmare. This is actually going to be my second time sewing. The first time sewing was this. So hopefully we get a bit of a better result. If not, it's not a big deal. It just needs to work. It doesn't need to be pretty. The cool thing about these as well, just before I get too far ahead, after the coronavirus thing is all run its course, hopefully, these could be reused as a cotton face pad, like a washable, reusable cotton face pad for applying makeup or for cleaning your face with whatever chemical of choice. So yeah. All right, so before we get too far ahead, and I know I keep interrupting myself, I just want to give you guys a quick rundown of what settings we have. So we have this operating on a length of 1, a width of 6, and we are doing a zigzag stitch. And like I said, we're going to just do a vertical line through here, and then I'm going to remove these pins and then do another one, and I'll just kind of walk you through what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So the foot is lowered down, right? Yeah. Okay. And something that Val pointed out to me with the foot pedal, you don't want to put your whole foot on there because it's kind of like a throttle on a car. You don't want to have too much force on it because all of a sudden then the whole thing just goes whew, and this is an auto feed on it. I know some older machines don't have that, or maybe some cheaper machines don't have that. I'm not a sewing machine expert. I'm just going off my experiences and my knowledge, which is somewhat limited. So feel free to correct me in the comments down below. So let's get started here. I'm just gonna go in, and we're just doing a nice zigzag in, and we're gonna reverse just to kind of give ourselves a nice starting position where everything's kind of locked in on itself. And we're gonna go back. We're gonna go straight through, and you just want to hold the fabric on both sides, but don't hold it too tight. Just kind of keep tension on the fabric. You can kind of go at whatever speed you feel comfortable with. I know a common trope in cartoons and stuff is people getting their fingers stuck in sewing machines. That's not really going to be an issue here. I'm going to go back to the center. And this does the added effect of kind of doubling up the stitch so it's nice and secure and snug. Okay, and that looks to be about center there. Alright, so I'm going to lower the needle through the fabric, raise the foot. We're going to take these pins out actually as well, and we're going to rotate 90 degrees, and we're going to lower the foot. Make sure you lower the foot. Doesn't really work if you don't lower the foot. Okay, now we're going to go again. Go this way. And go back. And I'm going to try and double up each of these stitches. Okay, so we're going to go back over, back to the edge here. Okay, now I'm going to do the outer edge. So, ideally, what you would want to do is actually mark out a 3-inch or whatever the diameter is of the retainer clip on here, and then follow that along with the that ring stitch. But I haven't done that. It's not going to be a big deal. But we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. And we are going to go nice and slow. I'm just going to adjust myself here to sit a little more comfortably. Foot is down. I think we're good to go, right? Okay, just getting Val to check because she can see she's a little more familiar with the machine than I am. And we're just going to go nice and slow. And don't worry too much about the fabric folding or creasing in weird ways. It will most likely sort itself out, at least in this case. steady. And the trick is to essentially just rotate ever so slightly, hold the center of the circle, and kind of treat that as your fulcrum, I guess, or your axle. And once you feel comfortable with the speed, you can speed up a little bit. It doesn't need to be a perfect circle. I'm just going to go over it a little bit more just to give it a little bit of double up. And we're going to reverse. Just to kind of cover up everything, make sure nothing comes loose. Ooh. Okay, and we are good. So, if I'm not mistaken, I raise the needle up, right? Yep. And then we lift the foot, slide this out. It does have a thread cutter on here, but what Val and I have both noticed is that when you use the thread cutter, the tail that you get from the bobbin and the main spool of thread tends to be too short, and you end up having to rethread or have weird little issues that kind of come as a result of that. So tighten this up and snip, and there we go. We got ourselves a filter. Just gonna trim around the edges here. Try not to cut any stitches. It might fall apart if you do that. Give yourself about 1 millimeter or so space between the edges. And make sure that if you're cutting fabric, you get a nice pair of fabric scissors. Fiskars are a good brand. They're the telltale orange brand that you see everywhere. Blades are nice. We've got a bit of a nub, as you can see right there, but this should work perfectly fine. These don't need to be perfect, they just need to fit and to provide a proper seal and filtration. So that covers it for the filters. What we're going to be doing now is attaching weather stripping to the mask, so it'll be like this. And in case you're wondering about the straps here, I was at our local Walmart looking for flat elastics, and they were all sold out in the sewing section. So what I got was those scrunchy elastic shoelaces, the ones that you don't have to tie. So what we did was we wrapped them through these holes and just kind of made them so that they're not so much a knot, but they're coupled on themselves. And it actually makes a very nice seal. We tested it on one of our personal ones, and yeah, it's pretty comfortable, especially with this foam, which we're using Frost King brand EPDM. It's a weather seal. It's supposed to be cleanable with alcohol, from my understanding, and yeah, it's nice. It's soft. It's comfy. I said that in a weird way. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to attach the weather seal and actually how to insert the filter as well. The shoelaces are pretty self-explanatory. I was like, why do I have the scissors here? Oh yeah, because I'm going to need the scissors for the weather seal. Okay, so I've unscrewed the mask. You need these two parts primarily, the retention clip and the main filter body. And we're just going to slide this filter in here. Doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to cover this hole the best that it can. You can just kind of fiddle around with it and find a way that it sits. And there we go. You can see it's mostly perfect. It's got like the little lip around the edge, which is what you're looking for. And then we just put the retention clip in there. It's not going to clip in quite as tight as it does without a filter. It might not even clip in fully at all, but that doesn't really matter too much because once you put this in and screw it in, it's going to press pretty tight against that, and it's going to make a nice air seal, I guess. Is how I would describe it. I know I'm rambling a little bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, as you can see on the inside here, it has sealed against the edges there. You could put a little bit of rubber sealant or something in there if you want on the retention body. I wouldn't suggest it because it might fuse with the cotton pad, and the whole idea here is that you can remove the cotton pad to disinfect it, and you can replace it. Like the people we're making these for were essentially supplying 3 pads, one for use, one for being in the wash, so to speak, and one for like emergency spare to keep on you. And yeah. So now we're going to do the weather stripping, and this part is fun. This stuff is a bit of a pain to work with because it's just so noodly, but what I've done is I start at the nose, just a little bit south of the nose. You want to bend like this, and I get a nice sharp bend, peel off the backing paper here. I've noticed with this that you don't want to pick at it too hard because the rubber, or like the adhesive, will actually come off. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of press fit this in there. This is a little hard to show on camera. You just kind of want it to fit to the contour of the thing, and just kind of press it in there, make sure that the adhesive sticks. And we've got some super glue here for later, potentially, to help keep this stuck. Great thing about super glue, once it's set, it is a pretty inert chemical. Like, it doesn't really do anything once it's actually done its thing. And as a result, it's perfect for this use case. Okay, and now we're just going to come up to this edge, and we're going to go a little bit beyond and just snip right through. And put this back on there, the backing paper that is, and there we go. Weather stripping is pretty much done. Just gonna take this, press it to that, hold it in there, just make sure it actually bonds properly to the plastic. And you can just super glue around the edges as you need. The trick is to just kind of take your fingers like this and work it almost like if you're kneading dough. You just kind of want to press along the length of it and keep pressing. And the idea is you want to use some super glue to seal up this gap, if there's any gap there between the two, so that you don't have an air gap. Because the whole point here is that it is a self-contained filtration system. Okay, I'm gonna do this. There we go. Just gonna put a little bit in there. As you can tell, everything's glued in place. We're actually just still letting this set. Ideally with super glue, you want to let it set overnight so that you know everything's kind of done its whatnot, its magic. And then you can touch it up afterwards if you need to. But for now, this mask is effectively assembled. We're gonna go and sew some more of these filter pads. If you want to know more about these masks, check out our previous video about 3D printing them. We actually even have a ASMR/time lapse of printing these masks. And for the sewing machine, make sure to check out our unboxing of this, where we go into some more detail regarding the sewing machine itself. Until next time, I hope you guys stay safe. Make sure to wash your hands, don't touch your face, and bye for now.